Let's take a brief trip back in time. It's September 2022. Ashfall has just been revealed, touting itself as a brand new post-apocalyptic MMO looter shooter with a diverse open world to explore, action-packed gameplay, tons of loot, group dungeons, all in a setting and world that's heavily inspired by Fallout with a soundtrack co-produced by the legendary Hans Zimmer. Wow, awesome! I can't wait! Is something you might have told yourself at the time, especially taking a look at their teaser trailer. It looked okay, not too bad, like a Fallout-inspired Outriders maybe or something, right? No, actually, it's not that whatsoever. In fact, it is legitimately one of the worst MMOs that I've ever played. Come with me on the adventure. It all starts fairly benign. I make my character, get a few preset options, some sliders to move around for facial features, hair, and eye color, you know, the usual fare. Then it's time to select an archetype, specializations tailoring to different playstyles. All right, this is pretty cool. It all represented with a character that, hey, wait a second, is this just a panda version of Fallout's Vault Boy? Yeah, that's exactly what this is. And I'm not making leaps here, by the way. In the official promotional material for Ashfall, the developer clearly stated on several occasions that they have taken a lot of inspiration from Fallout. And this pretty clearly seems to be one of those inspirations. But anyway, whatever. Game development is iterative after all. So yes, I made my character, then it's time to start playing. Let's go. You've lived in the vault your whole life. What? I'm greeted by the Vault Keeper, Drolma, who's looking mighty interesting, and I'm asked to deal with some mutated bugs that snuck into the warehouse. So I head on over, I shoot the pests, the gunplay seems fine, honestly. It's nothing to write home about, but it does get the job done, feels good enough. I've seen worse, I guess is what I would say. I open up a chest, find myself some meds. The game then introduces me to the inventory system. It's a grid-based one, okay, no problem, seems fine. Rather large icons, but my vision's been going with age anyways, so thank you. I come across some contextual environmental interaction that clues me into the fact that there's a mech hidden under the tarp. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I couldn't tell just by looking at it, right? Shoot some more bugs, open a few more chests, reach the end of the warehouse and encounter a giant bug that has a bit more health than the other ones. It also lobs globs of acid for me to dodge. We got some new mechanics being introduced here, nice. Eliminating this bug completes the mission. So I head back to the Vault Keeper, who congratulates me on my heroic efforts and says it's time to leave the vault. All right, I interact with this gate panel that has my character running in place for a few seconds. I'm sure they'll fix that, don't worry. The gate opens up, I step outside into the southeast canyon, and nice, look at this. It's like a distant overhead shot giving me the lay of the land before, you know, zooming in all the way past various points of interest, giving me a quick glimpse of different places that I'll explore. Maybe I get a little sneak peek of a world boss in the corner before the camera keeps on zooming closer and closer until it gets right up just behind my character, where I'm ready to start going out there for some immersive third-person open world exploration, right? No, that's not what's happened. Instead, I'm greeted with what are those like old school top-down overhead RPG maps? You know, the ones with your oversized representation of your character and it'll just move wherever you click around and then you come across things randomly. Well, that is this MMO's take on open world exploration. Not exactly what I was expecting, but okay. I can live with it, I guess. So I walk my character around for a bit when all of a sudden a random encounter appears. Get a little question mark that pops up on the map. I walk towards it and then I am informed that I've stumbled upon a skeleton in the sand. I'm given the choice to either search or bury it. I choose search and then the game tells me that the skeleton turned into dust and I've collected an old photo in return. Now mind you, I didn't actually experience any of this. It's just the game told me that it happened, which, you know, was super immersive like 30 years ago when I was playing Myst for the first time. Not particularly engaging for me today. Not a slight, by the way, like text-based point-and-click adventure games. Totally cool genre. A lot of people really enjoy them. There's great games, great iterations on that out here. Nothing wrong with the premise of itself, of like a game just telling you this story, but it's just not what I was expecting, wanting, or hoping for what was described as a third-person MMO looter shooter. They didn't exactly show this version of the game in the trailers that they've released. They showed what looked to be an explorable play space that you'd be moving your character through. Well, yeah, not exactly what we got. So that's major letdown number one for me when it comes to Ashfall. Fine, no open world. I click around this map, so be it. back to the gameplay. So I click my character further down the path before coming across another pop-up. This time it's a shabby campsite. I click investigate and am met with a loading screen, on the other side of which I am back in control of my character inside of a cave where there appears a trespasser. Wait, aren't I the trespasser? Because I'm the one who came into the cave. Whatever. I quickly dispatch of him before a few more trespassers appear, granting me enough experience for a level up. I am then introduced to the talent point system. This is actually pretty neat. Got some variety of options here to buff up various offensive and defensive stats. I go with the 5% more shooting damage because I'm boring, yes. So I close the talent screen, and then right in front of me is the exit. Like, the total play space that I was in amounted to maybe 30 feet. From loading in to hitting the exit spanned a grand total of 2 minutes, what I clocked it in, and a full minute of that time was spent with me looking at my talent choices. I was so befuddled that I rezoned back into the area to make sure that I hadn't like missed a left-hand turn anywhere, but no, that was it. That all 30 feet was that entire play space. But hey, it's the early part of the game. Whatever, we'll keep going. So I leave the cave, I load back into the overworld and start clicking around again. Further down the path, I get another encounter, more trespassers. I make my way down this narrow alleyway before ending up in what looks to be a bit of a clearing. And actually there's some space here to the left, right, and center, each area containing a small group of enemies. I happen to find a rifle, so I use that to take a few pop shots from an elevated position. Again, the gunplay ain't too bad. Decent enough, right? Again, not the worst that I've ever played. I work my way through the 3 sections of this area, which does look a whole lot bigger than it actually is, thanks to how they blend the background into the play space. There are clear barriers, however, with invisible walls in a pretty tight corridor. Again, this was a relatively small area, albeit bigger than the last one, which was good. So I take out the enemies, I pick up some loot. I would say in this area, I spent a total of 3 minutes in the encounter before loading back into the overworld map. And if it's not clear yet, that is the exact structure of the whole rest of this game. I actually played Ashfall for a couple of days, and nothing structurally changes for how it works in these opening few areas. Overland map, zone into an encounter, clear it, and then back out into the map. I know I've been harping on the play space size. I'll say right now, like, jump ahead in time. There are some areas that are significantly bigger than the first few you come across. This isn't surprising because these are the early portions of the game. They're just introducing things to you. But although there are some areas that are larger, for the most part, most of them, a majority of them, over 75% of them, are just as small as these first couple. Many of the encounters that I come across that I load into from the overworld map will last anywhere between 2 to 4 or 5 minutes to get a full 100% clear, which is basically just killing all the enemies within these confined space. But this is just like a personal gripe with how the game's structured early on. We really haven't even gotten close to the truly bad stuff about Ashfall yet. So let's keep moving on. I keep going, moving my character through the map, alternating between getting these text pop-ups with a little bit of like storytelling, lore building that tells me something happened in the area. I flipped on a radio tower. I came across some footprints, blah, 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 blah. And then also occasionally coming into these encounters where I actually load in and get to play the game, fighting either trespassers or bugs in this particular region. In one of these encounter areas, I come across a mini boss, the 2-headed Flyer King. It's here that I'm introduced to the weakness mechanic, where periodically while fighting the boss, a big target will appear. I shoot the target, it deals more damage. Surprise, surprise. I do more encounters, collecting loot, leveling up some more before reaching the end of the zone map, where my main quest objective is located, asking me to enter this dark cave in search of someone named Fishy. Now this area had a few sections to it. It was actually the most expansive place that I'd been to thus far. There were a few narrow passages leading into this dig site. I had to lower a bridge, and beyond that there was a waterfall, another passage, and it all ended in a boss room. Now it is here where I fought back some waves of trespassers, and then the boss Steel Helmet appeared. He would periodically toss out a smoke grenade, which would cause him to vanish, spawning in more trespassers before then reappearing. I had happened a couple of times as I worked down his health. Overall, pretty simple fight. Took him out. Another loading screen pops up, and I am all of a sudden back in the starting vault. The keeper thanks me for saving Fishy and asks me, hey, what happened? Upon which I tell her, someone's been trespassing near the vault. Okay, actually, that explains why they're called trespassers. Got it. So she tells me the time has come. I must meet my destiny and leave the vault, venturing out for help. So then I'm told to go around the vault, saying my goodbyes to all of the NPCs inside, who I've not met until this point, so that was kind of weird, but anywho. It's now time to head back outside of the vault. This time, I spawn in the Wildfire passage. I go through the same loop that I did in the prior zone, just now in a different setting with a few different types of enemies, alternating between a few text and combat encounters before I come across the first real boss fight. Overlord, the fire-breathing dinosaur, had a few attacks in his arsenal. He would breathe fire in a cone in front of him. There were some rocks in the middle of the arena that I could duck behind to avoid this. He would also leap across the arena, slamming on the ground. About 30 seconds into the fight, these 5 pips underneath his health bar filled up, and I got this warning that said a high threat skill is incoming, at which point he leaps on top of the rocks, and I've got 12 seconds to shoot the markers on his body. Had I not, presumably he would do some big damage attack or something. So he continues hopping around, slashing and breathing some fire. A second round of the incoming high threat skills happened. I cleared that. Keep dodging the attacks, firing away, working down his health bar until he is officially kaput. As a reward, I get a nice piece of purple gear, and about an hour into the game at this point, I am finally introduced to the stamina system. Curious, what's this? I take a look, it says I've got 101 out of 1,000 total stamina, and then under that bar it says I restore 1 stamina every 8 minutes. Okay, so I got slowly charging stamina system, but wait, there's something else underneath that. It says stamina recover muscle supreme restores 50 stamina, purchased 0 out of 5. So you might be wondering, what is this stamina system for? Well, before not too long, I found out. You know those random encounters that we've been talking about? The ones that you come across in the world map? The areas that involve actually playing the game, the actual gameplay? Well, as you continue progressing and keep playing the game, eventually those random encounters start to cost stamina to enter. I wonder where this is going. Let's find out. All right, so I leave this zone and head into the third area. Here, I am introduced to my first city. There's a few quest NPCs, there's vendors for buying and selling items, there's a crafting station. In this town, I'm also introduced to the daily reward system. Complete activities by playing, collect rewards, and if you do enough of this, you'll get some free premium currency. I wonder what premium currency is for. We'll get to it, but not quite yet. They're easing us in. That's how you slowly introduce these systems. You get people hooked, and then you're like, hey, where'd your wallet go? Where'd all your cash go? So I continue through this zone, doing the same alternating of encounters. Trespassers and bugs have been replaced now with scavengers and dogs. I progress along, fighting, looting, leveling, got a couple more boss fights, and I continue the main story quest, which takes me through the zone, then progressing into the 4th area called Hope Town. And this is really where everything started to come together. Moving downhill very quickly. I'm about 2 hours in, and the game starts hitting me with all of the worst systems and finally showing me what that stamina and premium currency are used for. So, as I mentioned, those random encounters around this time, between 2 and 3 hours, they start costing stamina, and you restore 1 stamina every 8 minutes. Now, without stamina, if you don't have enough for the cost of entry, you simply can't do them. There are some areas within these overworld maps, typically ones that are tied either to the main story or side quests, that you can enter for free, but a vast majority, I would say at least 75, if not upwards of 85-ish%, most of these random encounters in the overworld will consume stamina. They cost stamina in order for you to enter. And when you run out of stamina, all you can do is walk around these events while looking for the few that can be entered for free. And this is exactly what happened to me at about the 2.5 hour mark. I was simply out of stamina and I couldn't do any more of these world events. The only events I could do were like main and side story ones, or the ones that just like read some text to me. That was it. That was all I could do. Oh, what? Who cares? Just do the main story quest. No big deal. You can't do the side encounters? Fine. Whatever. You just wait till you get more stamina, idiot. And what makes this especially bad is the game's use of level gating. Essentially, as you're moving through the main story quest, you will hit various points that are hard stops, requiring you to reach a certain level before you are allowed to progress. And wouldn't you know it, one of the best ways to get experience and level up is to do those encounters that cost stamina that you are going to run out of. I think you can sort of start to intuit where this is going. Now, I will say in this build, which was a beta of Ashfall, there didn't seem to be a way that I could see in a cash shop to spend money on stamina. But I'm gonna count on the fact that that's exactly what they're doing, because that is the whole point of having a system like this. That's what a lot of mobile games in particularly will do with these stamina-based systems. They will give you a way to slide your card to refill your stamina so that you can keep doing it. And like I said, there were hard stop points where basically I just couldn't go any further until I leveled up. And the best way to level up was to do those random encounters. And the only way I could do those encounters is if I had enough stamina. And oh my gosh, why am I out of stamina? Speaking of the encounter areas, as I continued playing more and more, I discovered that the game was just constantly reusing the same maps. Again, these areas are pretty small for the most part, with the exception of some of those main story quests, and the game does have dungeons, which makes areas that are a little bit bigger. But for the most part, you're dealing with these 2 to 4 minutes worth of content in these areas, and it's the exact layout. They don't even like mix up the paths. You will see the exact same junkyards, the same ravines, the same hideouts, the same caves, the same everything over and over and over again as you play and you zone into these encounter areas. I also noticed that there were quite a lot of bugs and glitches while I was playing, especially a lot of textures and animations. Many of the characters, as they moved towards me, I mean, they look like slideshows. They were running at like 3 FPS. Also, my guns vanished on multiple occasions, and at a couple of points as well, I saw the skybox completely glitch out and freeze frame in place. Like, as I was swinging my camera, there would be a copy mirror image of the skybox, as it were, when it bugged out. Also, as I kept playing, it became clearer and clearer that combat is just a joke, really. Most of the enemies barely do anything. They run around and occasionally shoot at you. There's no AI, no smart AI as far as I can see. Mechanically, the game is just not very deep or interesting. All grand total, I clocked about 10 hours in the game. I don't know how I did it either, but I did. And after about 10 hours, I still hadn't unlocked any like combat mechanics beyond shooting your weapons and throwing a grenade. And you know, it's a shooter, right? What else are they gonna do? I don't know, anything? Literally anything. At about the 3-hour mark is when I was introduced to what the game's premium currency is used for. It is spent on what are known as chip boxes, and this is Ashfall's gacha mechanic. That's exactly what it is, and it rewards some of the most powerful enhancements for your character from what I saw in my playtime. There are chip slots for every weapon type, which is auto, semi, and heavy. With every 1 chip box that you open, you will be rewarded a single chip. 10 boxes guarantees 1 green chip, which is the second highest rarity, with the top rarity being the gold chips. They have a 2% chance to drop. Now that top rarity, they add huge boosts to stats and damage multipliers for their respective weapon types. In the beta, they were handing out tons of currency for free. They've just given it to you with various mail, bonus rewards, and daily logins and all the stuff. So I used the free version of the premium currency that they were handing out to open up a bunch of chip boxes. With that, I got a few green ones, and they would increase my weapon power anywhere between 10 and 20%, which was the larger than any other sources of power that I saw in my playtime, at least. I did not see any like free versions of power that were better than that. Even though this stuff wasn't purchasable in the beta, I will say with nearly 100% certainty that they will be selling that currency to open up those chip boxes that rewards the highest power gain in the game from what I saw, and they're almost certainly also going to be selling those items to refill your stamina when the game officially launches. That wasn't the case in the beta, but those systems, they are going to be charging for it, okay? You just bet your bottom dollar. If not, I would be unbelievably shocked. I've been railing on it a bit here. I do want to say there were some stuff that was okay, even not bad. Like I said, the gunplay wasn't awful. At least it wasn't the worst that I've ever played. They had some systems. There was actually a time slow shooting mechanic on one of the passives that I picked up, and that was kind of neat, although a bit janky, felt a little buggy at times. Didn't seem to always work the way I expected it to. As I said, there were some larger spaces. While most of those encounters would take 2 to 4 minutes, there were some spaces that I load into that took anywhere between like 5 and 7 minutes or something. I also noticed on occasion some weather changing in mid-mission, so it'd be like clear and then all of a sudden a storm would roll in. I also noticed some time of day changes while I was playing a few missions, so that was kind of cool. Probably the coolest thing about this game, I'm not being sarcastic here. I absolutely love the concept art. Check out the concept art for this game. It looks great. This with the pitch of like a Fallout-inspired looter shooter in an open world, that is a great idea for a game, and this concept art is like an amazing foundation to build a game off of. It's just they didn't actually make that game, but they got cool concept art. So I like that. Also, a few other notes. I took a look at the Steam page, and boy, this is one of the most baiting things I've ever seen. It's just what they're putting on display here really looks nothing like the actual game in action. It just really seems like they're trying to trick people into thinking this is like just a traditional third-person game, and you'll be spending most of your time in third person just exploring the world and stuff, but no. And all of this makes me scratch my head about that Hans Zimmer working on the music, co-producing, or whatever his exact title was. Hans Zimmer was involved with this game, which I'm just like, dude, why? Like, his name is attached to some of the greatest soundtracks in all of gaming history. They must have paid him a heck of a lot of money, which, hey, dude, get that bag. But this isn't going the top. This game probably isn't going to the top of the list here when he showcases his past work. Any single game that I play, I will always try to figure out some sort of fun to be had. Because for the most part, there's always something to be enjoyed with the game. While I was playing this, I was like, yeah, I'm moving around. The gameplay isn't bad, and I'm getting loot, and it's making me stronger. That feels kind of cool. So there's something I can enjoy about it, but I'll eat like a $1 burger, but I would prefer like a really good, finely crafted, fresh ingredients burger. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of along those lines. Fact of the matter is, there's really very little redeemable about Ashfall. It's pretty bad. Beyond the baseline enjoyment of numbers go up, it's a loot game, it's an RPG, like progressing your character, getting upgrades and better guns and talents, making your character that you're playing feel more powerful. Yeah, that's great. But beyond that basic generic loop that's pretty much the same in any loot game or RPG, there's nothing of particular value that I saw in Ashfall. And probably worst of all, it's just boring. It's not very inspired, not very fun. Pretty clear to me that this is simply a mobile game that they have brought to PC. I mean, heck, even the UI looks like it was made for tablets and not mouse and keyboard or even controllers. And even for a phone game, I'm not sure that this would be a particularly good one. Maybe if you got no other choice, or maybe if you're just looking for a nice, maybe if you're just looking for something new that you want to play for the sake of it being new, for something that you haven't played before. But I'll tell you, boy, there's probably a lot of games in your backlog, games that have released over the past 5 or 10 years that are infinitely better than what I saw here, that maybe you haven't played, that you should just play instead. And ultimately, it's just a disappointment. It's the reason look, I don't love crapping on people's work, right? But when it comes to games like this was something that I saw. It's said to be in a genre that I really enjoy, so I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna at least give it a chance. I'm gonna give it a fair shot, and I did, and it's just no shot, dude. It's bad. It's just not a good game. But that's what's killer, because yes, the initial pitch of post-apocalyptic MMO Looter Shooter inspired by Fallout sounds good on paper. This one, unfortunately, not very good in execution. I would avoid it is one of the worst MMOs that I've ever played. It's not good. So I hope I have better news for you in the next video. It won't be about this game, though. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something from it. Hope at least it helped inform you about a game. You don't touch it. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.